Algebra 1. This is going to be section 7.5, factoring. Polynomials that have the form x squared plus bx plus c. And the b and the c are just going to be numbers, positive or negative. And we'll look at a few different scenarios. So take notes, make sure you put your name on your page, period, today's date. Okay, and to get credit, you need to follow along, take all these notes, and upload them to Google Classroom to get credit. So we're going to be looking at factoring. We're going to outline the strategy for factoring x squared plus bx plus c. So these are trinomials. So we talked about factoring greatest common factor out, GCF, last week, and that's always a first step to look for if there's something you can divide out of everything first. But then if you have a trinomial, this is one of the, we're going to look at a certain group of them today. So I'm going to leave some room here for a couple major steps. Let's say 4 steps, and then we're going to kind of work through some examples here. So example 1. And the directions will say something like factor x squared plus 10x plus 16. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try and find all the factors of the first term. Okay, so this is the first term in standard form, highest power to lowest power. All the factors of x squared are x times x. That's it. That's sometimes we get more than just one pair. And then we're going to go and we're going to find all the factors of the last term. So this is what we're going to do every time. All the factors of 16. So how could you get 16? Well, 4 times 4, 2 times 8, 1 times 16. So there's a bunch of different ways to get 16. All the factors that give you 16. Now, what we're going to look for is we're going to look for the right pair of factors from both of these lists that add to the middle term. Okay, so the middle term is right here, 10x. So I want to find, now if we multiply these, x times 4 is 4x, x times 4 is 4x. So that's going to be 4x, and 4x is 8x. Is that 10x? No. Okay, how about 2? 2x and 8x. 2x and 8x is 10x. And that's good, right? And we could write this other one, 1x and 16x gives you 17x. That's no good. Next time, though, it could be a 17x or an 8x in the middle. So we're going to go with this pair. This is the only pair here, and this pair. And we're going to start to write them out. Like we're reverse foiling. So we're going to write the binomials, 2 binomials. So the x's go here and here. Doesn't matter, they're the same. And the 2 and the 8 can go here and here, or with 8 here and the 2 here. It doesn't matter because the first terms are both x. In the future sections, it could matter where we put the 2 and the 8. But for now, it doesn't matter. Now, the thing that we got to figure out is we got to figure out what to put here, plus or minus. Both plus, both minus, a plus and a minus. So what we're going to do is we're going to check it. We're going to do 2x and 8x. Should give you 10x, right? Which is what we already confirmed now. That 10x is positive. So for these both to add up to 10x, they got to both be positive, which tells you that you got to put a plus in front of the 2 and a plus in front of the 8. Right? Both need to be positive this time. Sometimes they'll both be negative. Sometimes one will be positive, one will be negative. Now, let's also make sure and do a quick check to make sure, we could check this more thoroughly, but make sure these two numbers, the 2 times 8, give you 16, give you the last term. So make sure the two numbers give you the last term, just as a quick check. So we're going to rewrite this now. X plus 2, x plus 8. And that's it. That's your answer with the parentheses. Now you could also write x plus 8, x plus 2. So the order is fine either way. Okay. If you're to FOIL this, so a more thorough check is that you could FOIL it, and you should get what we started with. You should get that original problem. Should get what we started with if you want to check it. Okay. Because if you're to FOIL it, you do first x times x is x squared, inner and outer 2x and 8x give you 10x, and then last will give you 16. So that's how we do it. Let's try a few more examples over here. Example 1a, x squared plus 7x plus 6. And we'll do another one, x squared plus 9x plus 8. And so let's go through the steps. So we want to find all the factors of the first term, which in this case would be x times x, and all the factors of the last term, which would be 1 times 6 and 2 times 3. We want the pair that gives us 7x. So if we do 1x and 6x, that gives us 7x. Not that we're going to write this in the future. And this one will give you 2x and 3x, which will give you 5x. So that's not good for this one. So that's the pair we want. And so we're going to rewrite it. X, the binomials, put the 1 in, put the 6 in, and we can check the sign. So that's going to be 1x, that's going to be 6x, and they should add up to positive 7x. So they got to both be positive. So we're going to put plus here and plus here. And then make sure that the 1 times the 6 gives you 6. So 1 times 6 gives you 6. That's good. So your final answer is x plus 1, x plus 6. Or you could write it x plus 6, x plus 1. Doesn't matter. Both are just as good as the other. Okay, let's do... Now, I want you guys to go and see if you can try this one on your own. So pause the video, try this on your own, and then restart the video and make sure that you got it right. Okay, assuming you guys paused it and tried it, pairs of numbers for x squared would be x and x, which I think all the ones today are going to just be, we're just going to have x and x at the front. We'll look at other cases in the future. 8 could be 1 times 8, 2 times 4. We want the pair that gives you 9x. So this would be 1x and 8x, right? That give you 9x. That's a good one. So we're going to rewrite it. X, 1 and 8. This is going to be 1x. That's going to be 8x. And we need it to add up to positive 9x, which means they both got to be positive. So we put positives there. So your final answer is x plus 1, x plus 8, or the other way around. Okay. Now let's add a little twist to it. Okay. So example 2, we're going to get into another slightly different situation. This one is going to be factoring x squared plus bx plus c when b is negative and c is positive. Okay, remember b and c are just going to be numbers. So that means we're going to end up with a negative in the middle and a positive here. So all the last examples had positive, 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 positive. So let's see. Let's look at some examples. We're going to take the same approach. X squared minus 8x plus 12. So let's try this one. Now we're taking the same approach. I'm going to find all the pairs of factors of the first term, x times x. That's it. And then 12 would be 1 times 12, or 2 times 6, or 3 times 4. Now, we want the pair that's going to add up and give us an 8 in the middle. But let's see. So this would give you 1x plus 12x equals 13x. No. This will give you 2x plus 6x equals 8x. Well, I think that one might be it. This would be 3x plus 4x equals 7x. So then we go with the 2 and the 6. So I'm going to write the binomials. So x and x, and then the 2 and the 6 could go either spot, 2 here, 6 there, 6 here, 2 here. We're going to get 2x and 6x, but this time it's got to add up to negative 8x. So how are we going to get negative 8x from 2x and 6x? Well, only if they're both negative, which means we need minuses here. Okay, now let's double check. Negative 2 times negative 6 gives you positive 12. Yep. So your final answer is going to be x minus 2, x minus 6. Okay, so that's how we do it when the middle term is negative. So let's do another example like this. So this one's going to be w squared minus 4w plus 3. Okay, so we've got to find the pair of factors for the first term, w times w. Doesn't matter if it's not x. And then for 3, it's going to be 1 times 3, and then that's it. So 1w, 3w is 4w. That's good. Okay. So we're going to write our binomials, w, w, 1, and 3. So this is going to be 1w. This is going to be 3w. It should give you negative 4w. So that means they both got to be negative, so we've got to put negatives here. So the final answer is w minus 1, w minus 3. Okay. All right. Let's look at another case. Okay. So example 3. This time we're going to be factoring x squared plus bx plus c, which is what we've been doing the whole time. But this time when c is negative. So a little different situation. But we're going to use pretty much the same technique. So let's try an example. Factor x squared plus 4x minus 21. Okay, so we're going to find the factors for the first term, x times x, that's it. And then 21 would be 1 times 21, or 3 times 7. Now, they need to somehow we got to find the right combination that gives us the 4x in the middle. Now, if you do 1 and 21, you're going to get 1x and 21x, which is no way going to give you 4x. If you do the 3 and the 7, you get 3x and 7x. Now, you might think, oh, that's going to be 10x, but we could do 7x minus 3x gives you 4x, right? So that's the pair we want. We'll figure out where the plus or minus goes, very clearly in a second. So we're doing the same thing, x and x, 3 and 7. You get a 3x, you get a 7x. It needs to add up to positive 4x. So the way that's going to happen is the 7 has to be positive and the 3 has to be negative, which tells you need to put a negative in front of the 3 and positive in front of the 7. Now double check. Negative 3 times 7 is negative 21. So that's our answer. X minus 3, x plus 7. All right. Okay. So now why are we doing this, right? Why are we factoring? Well, it's going to be so that we can do something we were doing last section. So that we can solve equations, okay? So the directions here are going to be solve the equation. Okay, solve the equation. Now, some of you guys are going to get confused and you're going to do the wrong thing on the wrong thing. You're going to go too far. You're not going to go far enough. So how do we decide? Do we factor it? Do we just factor it and that's it? Or do we solve it? Or do we factor and solve it? Now, to solve it, you got to have an equation, okay? Which means you got to have an equal sign somewhere between the left and right side. So everything we've done so far in this lesson, none of those were equations. Those were expressions. There was no equal sign, right? There was no equal sign. There was no equal sign, no equal sign. None of them had equal signs, but let's do a couple examples. So this one's going to be m squared plus 3m plus 2. And with the problem comes this equals 0, which means we should solve it. Okay, now before we can solve it, we got to factor it. So factoring is the thing that's going to help you solve it, unless it's already factored. So last week, we saw problems that were already factored equal to 0, and we used what we call the zero product property. Now, we're going to ignore that for a second, and we're going to focus on factoring this. Here, all the factors that give you m squared, that's going to be m times m, that's it. 2 is going to be 1 times 2, that's it. 1m and 2m give you 3m, that's good. So we're going to write m, right? And there's going to be 1 and 2. There's going to be plus 1 plus 2 or 1 plus 1 negative. It's got to add up to positive 3m. So these got to both be positive. Okay, and then of course there's still the equal 0. You need to rewrite the equal 0 on every step. Otherwise, you can't solve it. Okay, so now we're going to solve it using what we were using last lesson, the zero product property. It says if there's a bunch of things multiplying each other that give you 0, each one of them could be 0 as long as they're multiplying. So I'm going to rewrite this one. M plus 1, m plus 2 equals 0. So we're going to do what we did last week. M plus 1 equals 0 is a possibility, and m plus 2 equals 0 is a possibility. That's the zero product property. If this is 0, it'll make it work. If the other one's 0, it'll make it work. We want to find all the answers that make it work. So now you're going to solve each of these on their own. M equals negative 1, and m equals negative 2. And that's it. Those are your solutions. You can check them if you want. You could plug these back into the original equation one at a time, and they should make it work. Let's do one more. Okay, now this one's going to be, I'm going to add a little twist on it, okay? N squared minus 5n equals 24. Now, the fact that it has equal sign means probably going to solve it. But we're not ready to factor it. Everything has to be on one side equals 0 to use the zero product property. So we want to get everything on one side. So to get rid of the positive 24, we're going to subtract 24. Okay? We want to put it in standard form. When we rewrite it, we want the highest power term first, then the next power term of n, and then the last one, 24. So standard form, highest power, lowest power. The equal sign should still be here. And you should still have something over here. 24 minus 24 is 0. That's different than just leaving it blank. It's got to write the 0. So now this problem looks like the last problem. Now we can factor. Factors give you n squared. Factors give you 24. 1 times 24. 2 times 12. 3 times 8. 4 times 6. Okay? It's got to give you 5 somehow. That's going to give you 25 or 23. So that one's out. That one's going to give you 14 or 10. That one's out. That one's going to give you 11 or 5. I think it's going to be that one. This one would give you 10 or 2 if you subtract it. So I think it's got to be that one. So we're going to rewrite it. Binomials. equals 0 still there. 3 and 8. We want to figure out where the positive and negative goes. So this is going to be 3n. This is going to be 8n. You got to somehow give us negative 5n. Well, the 8's got to be, you got to have more negatives than positives if you're going to add these up. And the 3 is going to be positive. That's going to give you negative 5. So plus in front of the 3, minus in front of the 8. So we're going to rewrite it. Equal to 0. So n plus 3 equals 0. N minus 8 equals 0. And we're going to solve each one. Subtract 3 from both sides. N equals negative 3. Add 8 to both sides. N equals 8. And those are your answers. 2 answers. We expect to get 2 answers usually. Unless they're the same answer, then we don't write it. We call these, we either call them the root of the equation, the solution, and sometimes we call them the x-intercept. That's what we were talking about last week. So the big new thing today is factoring at the beginning, and how do we factor these new kinds of trinomials. We'll go, when there's a number in front of that first letter squared, things get a little more complicated. We'll talk about that next time. Today you need to do your monitoring progress for this section of the book. It starts on page 386. We're going to do problems 1 through 8 all. You should get these 100% right, because if you're not sure or you're getting stuck, there's a little blue arrow next to each of these problems if you're using the online version of Big Ideas, and there's a video that shows you exactly how to do each of the problems beginning to end. And that'd be good to figure it out now. And this is a tough, factoring's tough. You really want to put your time in now, figure this out, because we're just going to gradually make it more and more complicated, add more special cases, and then you got to be able to do any and all of them all mixed together. So do your best.